Hi guys, welcome to the stream. As of course you know, it's the Medway League series and we're going to be seeing Lemon Squeezy going up against Team Shoe Munchers, the other TSM. My name is Peter Whiskey Biscuit Hunnell and joining me this evening is Last Rights. How's it going, man?
Yeah, it's going good. I'm really looking forward to get back in casting fully.
While we're waiting, the teams are going to go through and get themselves sorted out with their picks and bans off screen, because we're going to allow for them to have those proxy picks, which will cause us to basically have to redo the champion select anyway. So rather than making you guys sit through that, we'll just wait and show you the second champion select, which will go through super fast and super smoothly with no proxy picks to throw us off the scent.
Yep, and for anybody who wants to know a little bit of background about some of these teams, on the blue side we have Lemon Squeezy. So this team came about from, they're like a Frankenstein team. So they came about from three different teams who used to be they are three different teams in the league. But all the players of said team, which was Blitzbank. All of those players went to make new teams. Sw0nk and Vendetta were two of those teams that were made, and we're actually going to be featuring Sw0nk later on in the stream. We do have recognizable names like the Highwayman and Fi, I believe that's how you pronounce it. Highwayman has now moved from AD carry to the top lane position. This time he was playing AD carry previously, he's now in top lane, with Fi being in the mid. And then we have a name that is familiar to everybody in the MLS, having Urza, their mid laner. And something interesting is, what I want to look out for at least, is Sw0nk down in the support position. So his style of play is pretty much the support mages. For example, we've been seeing a lot of Brand, a lot of Karma, a lot of Zyra, which in quite a redemption support meta will be interesting to see how he pulls them out. It's fine on stuff like Karma, but of course Zyra's fallen down a little bit. But with the recent changes to Rylai's and Leandri's Torment, she should be brought up just a little bit. Speaking of changes, for anybody that missed it, throughout the middle of patch 6.24, there was a short mini update that was added. Some small changes to Camille, Azir, Ivan got some nerfs onto his Trigger Seed, LeBlanc had a couple of nerfs, small nerfs here and there, the bounce damage being reduced on her Q, a little bit off of distortion, Rengar, Shaco having some damage nerfs as well as a small change on the Smite healing, so nothing major, but there are enough to shake things up just a little bit.
Well, I mean, certainly Camille was tended to be drawing bans pretty much every single time, so do you think with these relatively small nerfs, a slight reduction in attack damage, takes a little bit longer to get going with her precision protocol, her main damage source, do you think we'll still be likely to see her getting banned out in these games?
Yeah, definitely. I think once people start to be able to play against her a little bit better in lane, she won't see as much of a ban, I don't think, and let me explain why. So she's what I would say is one of the only champions in the game that has an absolutely phenomenal level 1 duel. A precision protocol with Q having the time it takes to get the second empowerment is really, really strong, and there's not a lot of people that can actually deal with that. However, because she excels so much early, the later that lane goes on, die to her really, really early in the game, like level 1, level 2, your lane does get a lot easier. You do need to be careful about it, though, because once a Camille does get going, it's especially hard, and of course, when she's with her own hookshot, she's also quite difficult to gank, as the first champion select has just finished, so we should be jumping into that very, very soon.
Yep, just need to get a few of our ducks in a row, make sure we get all the players back in the room. They'll get themselves into their appropriate order to make sure it's we cut out as much confusion as possible. We'll run very quickly through the picks bans, which I'll just pop across to my co-cast there, just in case I haven't got the copy of those. But we should be getting started with you guys very, very shortly.
Yeah, cool. Nothing surprising in those. And we're going to be getting into Champ Select very, very quickly.
Yep, looks like the teams are ready and raring to go once more. So let's get ourselves across to that champion select proper. Let's make sure as well that we've got the team names just showing up on one line. TSM with the hyperlong team name. But we'll be getting those picks and bans coming out very thick and fast. I do believe the teams will be using the same bans as they did last time, just for the sake of not confusing you guys. Or I could be completely wrong about that. So I'm very glad I made a note as to what the actual bans were. I guess you guys will have to use your imagination a little bit, because the bans coming out from Lemon Squeezy were Aurelian Sol, Katarina, and Camille, as you said. Right, Camille's still getting banned out. And for the opposing side, for Team Sw0nk, they banned out Rengar, Twisted Fate, and Syndra.
No surprises seeing Syndra banned. Absolutely none. She is ridiculous right now. To be honest, she's on a power level that is just not like any other mages, which is why she's so strong. She excels so much. And actually, one of the bans were proper, the Aurelian Sol just being taken out there.
Yes, I think by coincidence.
Yep, and first pick Poppy, not a surprise. Courage the Colossus on her is ridiculously strong at the moment.
Yeah, even with the nerfs to Courage the Colossus, still an incredibly strong mastery. Interesting. We'll have to see what Team Sw0nk has come out with as their response pick up in the top lane, but it does look like they are going to lock in the Vladimir as a response pick. And as expected, these picks come in thick and fast. We'll just have to play catch up with them.
Okay, here's something that some of the other casters we were actually talking about earlier, and whether we'll see this because of how weak AD carries are right now in the current meta. We have Ziggs, ladies and gentlemen. We have a Ziggs in the box.
The meme comes to life before your very eyes, ladies and gentlemen. We will see whether or not it is just a meme or if it in fact is the new meta. I don't know. Right, what do you think we're going to see? Have Lemon Squeezy taken it a meme too far?
I actually do like the pick, and I will explain why. So with Poppy, Vi, and Jace, you have a lot of attack, a lot of physical damage. Having even with AD carries being as weak as they are, still taking one will make your composition Sorry, I can't speak today. Full AD. Having that Ziggs down there in the bot lane will actually give them some magic damage that they really. The whole Ziggs AD carry, you still build Ziggs full ability power because his passive when it comes to taking towers is absolutely nuts. It's also going to give Lemon Squeezy the ability power damage that they actually really, really need in their composition.
Well, do you think we'll be seeing a different kind of build than the regular Ziggs build, or do you think it will just be a standard AP carry kind of build?
I think it will be a standard AP carry build. I haven't seen too much of the Ziggs. But moving over to TSM's team comp, I really like it, actually. Zac and Yasuo have some amazing synergy. There's, of course, the Zyra Stranglethorns as well, which plays really, really nice with Yasuo's ultimate.
Sure.
I just hope that they don't go too far in onto getting a Yasuo knockup, because they do have a lot of good tools in Vladimir and Caitlyn. Although it would be interesting to see how Vladimir performs, as one of his best items, Riley's Crystal Scepter, got pretty destroyed this patch for someone like him. So it would be interesting to see how his build has changed. Probably still be going for stuff like Proto Belt as well. But for someone where you don't have any CC in your kit at all, Riley's actually really helped Vladimir out. Although he should be fine up in the top lane versus a Poppy.
Well, where should we be expecting Lemon Squeezy and Team Sw0nk to be directing their attention early on in the game?
Sw0nk, if I was them, I'd probably look to just make sure that the bot lane can't snowball out of control. Because the problem with ADC is that you need to play aggressive and when you have something that can just burst you down constantly, like a Ziggs, as well as a Nami, it's going to be really, really difficult. So I'd like to see some attention from Tintin in the jungle onto that lane. However, having Contrafix on Vi, who's quite a strong early game jungler actually, she can pull off some pretty nice ganks. I think Zac has the early advantage in the jungle matchup simply because Elastic Slingshot is really, really good for ganking. Because there's some paths that no other jungler can actually get through. I think the top lane definitely has a lot of potential to snowball out of control in Highwayman's favor, because once he gets that one, if he gets that one kill onto Vlad, even with jungle pressure or without it, he can keep going. Poppy's really, really strong right now. If anyone that doesn't know, when 7.1 does come around, she's getting some changes to her Buckler passive, as well as not Steadfast Presence. I'm trying to remember the name of the ultimate. Keeper's Verdict.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah. So we've still got the ridiculously overpowered Poppy with Courage of the Colossus at the moment. Honestly, it should be going to Highwayman. I actually give this team comp over to Lemon Squeezy, although if the synergy aligns correctly for TSM, they will pretty much take this game away.
Well, something we haven't touched on yet is the very interesting pickup of the Jace in the middle lane going up against the Yasuo. I mean, certainly not something we see too often, but how do you anticipate that playing out?
So in the early levels, Yasuo needs to be careful, because obviously Jace being ranged, he can poke Yasuo down quite heavily. Not until you get Wind Wall that things start getting a little bit easier. But then again, if he's a good Jace player, if Fight's a good Jace player, he will know when to try and bait out said Wind Wall and play around it, because there's so many angles you can hit a acceleration gated shot blast from. It's really hard for Yasuo to duck in and out of it. So Urza needs to be quite careful early on with the Yasuo in the mid lane versus Jace, and it's actually going to rely straight down on the jungle pressure, I believe, because if the Yasuo gets the pressure and manages to kill Jace early on, it's going to snowball in Yasuo's direction, and vice versa. If the Jace manages to get ahead very early, he could almost bully Yasuo right out of that lane.
Well, it does look like Urza's has put some thought towards his ability to sustain in that middle lane, taking the Warlord's mastery to be able to keep himself topped up as far as the health goes. And we'll have to see how aggressive Fi is going to be in that middle, whether or not we're going to be able to poke them out, or if perhaps Tintin will be looking to try and punish that. We'll be into game with you guys very, very shortly. But this is a best of one, and we'll bring you another game just as soon as this one is done.
Right, okay, so for a quick team rundown, we have the Highwayman, we have Lemon Squeezy on the blue side, Highwayman in the lane on Poppy, Contrafix in the jungle on Vi, Fi in the mid lane on Jace, and Razni and Samibot on Ziggs and Nami, respectively. On the red side, we've got Ryozi on Vladimir, Tintin16 on the Zac, Urza the Knights on Yasuo in the mid lane, and Nijimura and Slap and Tickle on Caitlyn and Zyra in the bottom lane.
Looks like both teams are going for a relatively conservative start to the game. We're seeing the early pause come out. Looks like it, as far as I can tell, it seems to potentially be a connection issue on the part of Fi, the mid laner for Lemon Squeezy. Hopefully they'll be back with us very, very shortly. But while we've got this chance, while we've got this little break, who would, overall, looking at their team competitions as they are, I mean, TSM seem to have at least have a very sort of specific idea that they're going for. Lemon Squeezy, how are you feeling about their chances in this game?
I honestly think it's going to come down to whether they can get ahead early, because they don't have reliable AD carry. And yes, AD carries are weak in this season and all of that, but you still don't have a reliable source of physical damage coming out, because Jace is not going to be the person to sit in cannon form or T-Fight and just auto-attack everything that gets close to him. That's not what he's going to do. They need to have a really strong early game. I know as when Poppy gets further on, she's going to become incredibly tanky and really hard to kill, but the rest of the team can't really get there because there isn't any major physical damage threat behind that. And yes, Jace does have a lot of physical damage in him, but it's not the same as an AD carry would be. So I believe that they really need to get the ball rolling early in order for this comp to work efficiently.
Well, it does feel like we've got the three members of Lemon Squeezy, Highwayman, Contraflix, and Fi, who've all got the ability to really get stuck in there with with various hammers and with the assault and battery coming out from Vi, while presumably Razni and Samibot stay quite far back, just trying to pump in damage and crowd control. But how do you see Tintin playing into that kind of strategy on the Zac?
He needs to be careful of the Nami, because she's going to be able to bubble him and play the tidal wave. It should be okay, because he needs to time his elastic slingshots quite well. There's not too much follow-up, unless if he does get a good knock-up. There's the Yasuo ultimate coming from that.
Hmm.
I'm going to find out that thing's name. Last Breath, there we go.
Yes. Oh, yes. The nice thing when you're not streaming, of course, is you can just mouse over the ability names without looking like checking them.
Yep. It is brilliant. There's some that I always remember. Some I've forgotten. Not playing the game for about a year does that to you.
Well, to be honest, not a huge amount has changed. I mean, certainly the new jungle plants have been enormous. The teams who've been able to make the most use of them certainly get some quite big advantage. The honey fruit is probably one of the least noticed plants that goes on, but there's a good amount of healing that if one of the lanes takes advantage of that healing and the other one doesn't, then that's a significant lane swing that I think people just don't maybe even consider.
However, it does depend where the plants spawn. If they spawn, I don't know why my camera's locked in a minute.
Oh, unfortunately, yes. Paused is
that's my fault.
Going to be left in with a static camera, unfortunately.
If the plant spawns close to the mid lane, it's actually quite difficult for the mid laner to just come out of lane and take them. Although, if it spawns really high up the top and bottom river, whoever's ahead in that lane does have a lot more to try and take that, to just try and push that advantage even further. Although I think my favourite plant actually is the Sw0nk.
Oh yeah, why is that?
Every single plant does reveal that you've taken them, especially the Sw0nk, because you see it go off on the mini-map. You see that somebody's actually taken out the plant. However, it's quite nice with jungle invade. You can, if you're planning for an invade and you don't quite know where their jungler is, you can hit Sw0nk plant, put it towards their side of the jungle. If they're there, they'll know you're coming, probably. You'll obviously know that they're in their jungle, you don't go for the invade. If they're not there, they will see that you've propped the plant on the thing, but they don't quite know whether you've actually gone for it. So you could play a couple of mind games of that, whether you're actually going to invade their jungle or not. And then with Blast Cone, mainly used for escapes. I've also seen a lot of people just use it so their opponent can't use it to get away, and as it is probably the most frustrating plant right now.
Well, I was going to say, I thought as well with the Scrying Orbs, I would think the very same reasoning could apply, where we might see the junglers or even the laners moving into the opposing side jungle, trying to take away the ability to use those scrying plants as much as possible, but just because it's relatively accessible in a low risk fashion from the river. I do apologise for the pause seems to be carrying on. Right, have we received any word in the chat as to what's going on?
I know that Fire's having some problems restarting his router at the minute.
Oh, well, that's unfortunate. Well, let's have a look through. What else? Well, I suppose while we're waiting, we could always do. Did you have anything more you wanted to say about the team compositions between Lemon Squeezy and Team Shoe-Munchers?
Not really on the team composition levels. I was going to touch on some items, and I handed. When it comes to starting items, both Yasuo and Vladimir going for door and shields. Typical in their kind of match, especially for Yasuo, is going to be taking a lot of auto attack.
Oh, I think you might need to put your Discord to pick you up a little bit more.
Yeah, sure.
More easily, because I think it's cutting you off and you're going a little bit quiet.
I will sort that out just now.
But yeah, no, I like what you're saying. It certainly makes a lot of sense to have that door and shield. Very much seems to speak to a very passive early game for Ezreal the Knight on the Yasuo in the mid lane. I do wonder if there was some. I did think there was a possibility we might see some kind of lane swap going on from Team Shoot-Munchers, sending perhaps a Vladimir mid lane with Ezra on the Yasuo up top. Doesn't seem to be the case as of yet, at least, but hey, who knows? It might happen. Well, I mean, would that be a good strategy for Team Shoe-Munchers?
Yeah, I could definitely see it happening. Although, if it was a different champion that they could also run in mid lane top into Jace quite well, I would actually recommend it, because the lane phase is quite tough for Yasuo in that matchup. Although Vladimir doesn't really have a great matchup versus Jace either. Yeah, he can sustain through it a little bit, but that's only once once his transfusion's leveled up quite a bit.
Well, we'll see what does happen. As far as the summoner spells we've got going on here, we've got the ignite for slap and tickle down the bottom lane on the Zyra. Would certainly seem to be speaking to a more aggressive stance from TSM down the bottom side. Do you think, once we do get back into the game itself, we might see TSM trying to force something significant to happen down at the bottom side?
Yeah, definitely. Although we do have the Ignite on Zyra, so slap and tickle be a lot more aggressive, as they're talking in chat about maybe rescheduling.
Oh, that would be unfortunate if that is the case, because I know all of you guys in the Twitch have been hoping we can get started, and that'd be very unfortunate if that was not able to be happen this time. If it does go down that way, we've got another game for you a little bit later on between Sw0nk and Team Wolf, which I imagine would be theoretically happening in about half an hour's time.
Yes. So just a bit of news from what we've seen in chat. They're going to give him a couple more minutes. And if you think back that Squeezy will auto FF, I don't know if they've fully confirmed on that, just updating. So they're trying to just decide whether they're going to go for an auto FF or if it's going to be played out as a 4v5. It's looking towards an auto FF to reschedule.
That's a bit unfortunate. So they're looking to replay the game at a later date.
Yes, potentially. No word on when a game would be replayed.
Alright, well I suppose at least in that case it does mean that we'll be able to minimise the time between now and being able to bring you Sw0nk versus Team Wolf. Just see if we can keep you updating.
It's quite unfortunate, actually, because I was really looking forward to seeing the 6 bot lane. Okay, just learned that Fight is coming back.
Oh, well that's great. I do appreciate, or we do appreciate all of you guys' patience with sticking with us for this amount of time. So hopefully we'll be able to get this up and going very soon. Highwayman up in the Twitch chat letting everybody know what's happening. So hopefully not too many more moments before it comes in. But yeah, I'm really interested to see how Razny does in this bottom lane on the Ziggs, to see if we might see the emergence of some kind of new meta, if this does work out well for Squeezy.
Yeah, and it really does go to show just how bad of a position AD carries are in right now, because Ziggs isn't the only mage people are taking bot lane. I've also been hearing tremors of people taking Azir down in the bot lane as well.
Really?
Yeah. Been reading online, some people have been toying with the idea of putting Azir down there too.
Well, I suppose it might be quite hard to say at this point, but I would have to imagine the underlying thing here is with having no marksman per se for Squeezy. What would you imagine the implications are as far as how the game will play out?
So if Zach gets really far ahead and gets really tanky towards the later stages of the game, no one on the team at Squeezy will be able to kill him at all. He will be the biggest thorn in their side, because he will literally just be there bouncing around everywhere, picking up blobs, just restoring health passively throughout the rest of the team fight, and just being a major annoyance with unstable matter and stretching strike. But they don't have the consistent damage on Squeezy to just kill the Zac, which would be a big problem.
You know, that's a really good point. I'm just trying to think of, as far as objective control as well, I would have imagined that do you think that we might see Squeezy have a little bit more trouble in securing those objectives without the traditional marksman to be able to punt through the damage?
I think the damage that you'd get from Vi, Jace, and Ziggs will be fine in order to take it down, because Vi does do extra damage through denting blows, technically, and then Jace and Ziggs just have a lot of burst, although it's definitely not going to be as quick as if TSM were to take something like a dragon, or even just... I was going to say towers, but then again, there is a Ziggs on the side of Squeezy, as well, with the Nami, Tycaller's Blessing, the buffs to his passive auto attacks. It's going to be pretty insane in taking down these towers.
That's true. I do wonder though, if Lemon Squeezy fall behind in the early game and don't get access to those towers, whether or not they might suffer for not being able to kind of apply what seems like it's one of their team's unique strengths.
Yeah, definitely. They also might fall behind a little bit in the wave clear category, because even though Ziggs is phenomenal wave clear, he's the only person that reliably can. As I've just learned that Phi has reconnected, so both teams are ready to unpause in just a moment.
Excellent. Yep, well, thank you
And
guys.
play is going to resume.
Yep, well, it looks like the teams have set up on a relatively conservative early game start. Wards are being dropped by TSM, making sure there's no shenanigans coming from Lemon Squeezy, but it looks like relatively traditional starts, with both junglers starting out on the bottom side with a little bit of help from their bot laners.
Yeah, so this would normally indicate that they're most likely looking to go for potentially a top lane gank level 3. I don't think it's not the best of ideas. Like, nothing against it. I would just personally look to try and do something with this bottom lane, because Lemon Squeezy really need that bottom lane to get going. I don't think a red start up to blue and then potentially top lane is probably the best idea. But then again, Poppy, although Poppy on Highwayman on Poppy, sorry, will become a massive pain in the backside, being unkillable. Although I do like the pathing from Zach, because helping Vladimir in quite a tough lane in the Poppy will actually be quite useful for TSM.
That's true. I do wonder though, with the Highwayman on the Poppy being able to cancel out some of that Zach mobility, it seems like it might be tricky to try and make the gank stick up in the top lane. And much in the same way for Ryoz's? The Vladimir.
Vladimir, basically.
Yes, having the Sanguine Pool would seem to have a sort of an equally dampening effect on any ganks up in the top lane. But I guess we'll see how it plays out. As you say, the early level 3 for the jungler is very, very strong. But it's worth, of course, noting that the smite has been nerfed in this most recent hotfix. So the junglers will be coming to the jungle a little bit less health than they would have been otherwise.
Yeah, and we're seeing in the bot lane just quite the poke that was coming out mid lane. Jace take both from just trading quite equally. Urza being actually quite aggressive in this matchup. He does have a level of gives him the ability in order to do that, as he can just sweep and blade onto Phi, sweep and get a crit auto attack. But that's a really good trade coming in, actually, as a gank in from Zach.
Wow, what a first blood coming out. It does go across to the mid lane at Ezra the Knight for TSM, and what a great start for them. Really baited out that aggression from Phi, and it ended up very much costing Lemon Squeezy. We'll have to see if Tintin does come back to that middle lane once more. But Contraflix only there to cover, make sure that there's no CS lost. A little too late for the party to make a difference this time round.
I gotta say, I was going to segue you into that, and Phi died just a little bit too quickly for me to do that.
Yeah,
just a bit too fast on that.
Well, I don't think Phi was the only one caught off guard by the ferocity of that first gank. I mean, the last 6 slingshots so good early on, really catching Lemon Squeezy off guard.
Yeah, and it's also just knowing your power spikes on Yasuo's. We do have a bubble land bot lane.
Yeah. Well, it's also
no.
It's also worth noting that the only real sustain is on the side of Lemon Squeezy. So if we get into this long-term poke war, I would have imagined the Nami heals could be significant.
Yeah, definitely. Especially because they have no real good defense against all of this Ziggs poke. Although Razni is quite low on mana on that Ziggs, spamming out a lot of Qs. He's actually being shoved in a little bit. Zara does get caught by the Aqua Prison. Yep. Nothing followed up on that, as we have a gank in the top lane.
Yep, we do see the gank attempt coming in, but it does not come to anything at all. Whereas the Vladimir having to fall back, but nothing's sticking as of yet, and keep an eye out as well for Tintin up in that top lane. Maybe going to try and turn this around. Rios goes down very, very low, but here comes Tintin waiting out the steadfast presence and manages to get the knock up onto the Highwayman. Rios goes down so low, but again into the Sanguine Pool. The flash comes out, Highwayman is so low, and Tintin secures another kill for TSM, but Nijimura takes Samibot out in the bot lane as well. TSM are 3-0 up before 5 minutes.
That flash from Rioz's was perfectly timed. Like, instantly timed. If he times that a second later, he's hit by that auto attack, eventually killed. That was a really, really good flash from Ryozi in that top lane, and also an amazing Sanguine pull to get himself out alive in that gank. Really well executed by TSM.
Yep, and the kill advantage is really paying off in the mid lane. Ezreal has a huge CS advantage right now, really putting the pressure down on Fi. And where we thought that Lemon Squeezy might have that advantage up in the top lane, it's proven to be a real non-starter for them.
Yeah, and the issue is with the mid lane is that it all depends on who can get ahead earlier first. Urza got that full advantage very early on. He was able to harass Fi so much to the point that the Zac gank was able to actually take him down. And it's honestly really snowballed this lane already because Jace can't really do too much because Yasuo just gets really overpowering once he starts getting ahead on you. And the most you can do as Jace is just hope to just Thundering blow him backwards, but then he can just Sweeping Blade back to you and back to safety anyways. So it's actually a really hard position for Fire in this mid lane on Jace. And considering he's got, 20 CS deficit at the moment, which is actually quite bad for Jace. He's not able to do what Jace is just best at, just shoving your opponent into tower. In fact, he's on the receiving end of that, which is actually really, really bad, as we do see Tintin looking for a gank in the bot lane.
Yes, it's dangerous all over the map for Lemon Squeezy right now. You mentioned the CS deficit in the mid lane that's happening all over the map. In the top lane is a big CS deficit for Lemon Squeezy, and in the bottom lane as well. Have dropped that whole minion wave behind. I do wonder what Lemon Squeezy can try and do to make up for all these disadvantages.
Yeah, and here we go, the Elastic Slingshot. Great flash from Razny there.
Yep, very, very nicely done, Tintin. Taking a bit of harass on the way out, but that flash being burnt down the bottom side. Perhaps we will see a return visit from Tintin as we see Contraflix coming in, trying to dissuade TSM from getting an advantage down the bottom lane as well.
Mighty is level 6, so you could have looked for Assault and Battery, not going to do anything, just going to head back off into his own jungle.
I do wonder, perhaps Lemon Squeezy might try. Well, at this point, do you think it's more likely we'll see Lemon Squeezy trying to recover one of mid or top these lanes which are doing so badly, or will they perhaps instead be more likely to try and focus their attentions down to the bottom lane where it's the least bad, is perhaps the way of putting it?
Yes, I believe, as we do have a Grasping Loots land in the bot lane.
Lovely bubble, the slap and tickle is going to be tried to attempt back. Salt and Battery comes out, knocking aside Ninjamura. Here comes Rincy, but the huge Zac coming across knocks up Razny, who is struggling to get away. He's right pressed against the wall, cannot get out of there. Ninjamura takes their second kill of the game. Contraflix is going to take an ace in the hole to the face. It's going to fall back. Both mid laners making their way down to the bottom side, but I don't think they're going to make anything particularly of it. Ezra taking a pink ward for his troubles.
That was a really good counter gank there by Tintin, as I didn't mention this a little bit earlier, but they had a ward just before the infamous flash wall on the blue side down in bottom lane, which allowed TSM to see Contrafix coming through and just spotted them outside the tower, so they knew that there was a gank coming, was able to counter gank that really nicely, as they're going to take the dragon.
Yep, Cloud Drake is very, very easy for them to take right now. We don't see Lemon Squeezy in any kind of position whatsoever to try and contest this. But at least, honestly, at this point, it's starting to feel like Lemon Squeezy really don't have any kind of control over the game at this point. It feels a little bit like they're lucky to have not lost towers as well.
Yeah, and this is what I feared having the Ziggs composition in the bot lane. That lane needs to get really far ahead and really needs to just punish the AD carry for just trying to just farm. Just punish. They were doing a good job of it in the early game, but the ganks from Tintin really made sure that this bot lane and Ziggs and Nami weren't able to just get a bunch of tower pressure. And the fact that Ziggs was Razny, was shoved in for half of his lane phase on Ziggs. You don't want to be doing that if you're trying to do the strategy. You want your opponent constantly under tower, constantly getting the chip damage, and just get that first tower blood, which I don't think they're going to end up doing, unfortunately.
Yeah, it does feel like that's a particular strength of the Lemon Squeezy lineup. As you've mentioned before, the Ziggs' ability to take towers is unparalleled, but really not getting any time whatsoever on the TSM tower means that's going to almost be an irrelevancy as time goes on. and TSM have control all over the map.
Yeah, and this is what one of the flaws could have been for it's a bit of a trade in the top lane, not actually gonna circumvent to anything. Aqua Prison lands just to ward off taking of the control ward.
Oh, teleports coming into the bottom side though. This could be what Lemon Squeezy needs. Stranglehorn's coming down, knocking up Highwayman, who's taking so much damage. Ace in the holes, not going to get blocked. Highwayman being forced back. No, Keeper's Butt, it comes out. Nimura does take the kill, but will they be traded back? So much damage coming in. But Nimura just manages to avoid the giant bomb, but does get shut down. At least there's a kill coming in, but there's also Rios coming in with a teleport of their own. Taking a lot of damage, but comes in. Here comes the Hemo Plague. The bubble does not connect. Razzie gets the big heal. It's going down so low, but Ezra comes in. Tower dives this one. It's going down so low. And no! He didn't get the kill, but that was a little bit ill-judged on the part of TSM. Tintin still down on the bottom side though, looking to maybe turn this into yet another kill for TSM. Here they come, Bot's going to get knocked up. The huge double knock up there, and Rio's the one to secure the kill. TSM in a commanding lead.
I don't know if I like that teleport from Highwayman. I found that very questionable, considering Rios's was pretty much on full health, and Highwayman teleported in on half HP, giving up a kill. I don't think it was needed, and pretty much what snowballed that fight. They then lose the first tower, which they need to get with this composition, because that's pretty much why you pick the Ziggs, is you're so good at taking that first tower, and they're not able to do that anymore, which it's going to end up being a real problem, as I don't think this Ziggs pick was the greatest idea.
Yeah, I mean, it's a real shame, because I mean, we were hoping to see this work out really well for Lemon Squeezy, but I do wonder. I mean, it feels like it's entirely possible that it is a good pick, but do you think perhaps that the given how effective Tintin was at skewing that bottom lane, that stopped that from really realizing what it could have been?
Yes, definitely. The focus should really be on that bot lane to get ahead and get going, so he can pressure the AD carry out the lane and just keep taking that tower. Although a little bit out of position here, not going to get caught by the elastic slingshot, as there isn't one that's going to come through. There is a gank in the top lane.
Yeah, Rio's getting pounded into the wall. There's going to be a Sanguine Pool coming out very shortly. Rio's using that Protobell to try and get the distance. But no, Lemon Squeezy can't make the gank stick, as TSM are all over Lemon Squeezy's jungle, trying to take away their red buff. Looks like they are going to manage it, and Lemon Squeezy do not have a right side jungle right now. Oh, up in the top lane, big knock up onto Rios. There's the pull. Contraflix is ready with his Salsa Battery. There's the knockup. Can they get the last bit of damage through? No, the heal for Rios. It's too much. Contraflix being chased back out of the lane. Rios takes the kill, 2v1. And Lemon's going to get nothing, but in the mid lane, Ninjamura is going to get taken out by fire. A consolation prize. But what a disaster for Lemon Squeezy up on the top side.
Yeah, I was about to compliment Contrafix for holding onto that assault on battery. Once Vladimir had got back safely to the tower, I would have just left it and kept it for another gank some elsewhere, because with the extra sustain you're getting from that Hextech Protobelt, you're not going to be killing that Vladimir anytime soon. Fi's going to get collapsed upon here.
Yep, well, speaking of being killed, Fi is so low. Exhaust being brought out. Ezra is great use of the windmill, cutting out some of that damage. Razney struggling to do absolutely anything right now. Manages to get just enough distance, but it's disaster upon disaster for Lemon Squeezy. They are so far behind as Tintin comes in, trying to make it happen in the mid lane. Razzie going down so low, getting knocked off and getting eliminated. The second kill for Tintin, who isn't going bloblop form. Fi has a potential of an easy kill, but can they finish it in time? It's going to be very tight. No, Slap and Tickle comes in to say it's not going to happen, and they score a kill on Fi for their troubles, trading one back onto Slap and Tickle in return.
Not technically a trade back, since it was an execute, so it's actually pretty good for TSM having that only be an execute.
Wow, I didn't even notice that. But yeah, that's pretty massive.
I think this is just a full-blown collapse now from Lemon Squeezy. I don't know if it's they've just gone, oh, our composition has not worked, let's just play out the rest of the game, but it's going to be really tough to come back from this. Like, they don't have that reliable late game damage that you would normally just depend upon. Say, so if TSM were behind in this example, you could just go, okay, we'll wait for Caitlyn to get past her mid-game slump and just have her power back up and try and carry us in late game. They don't... Lemon Squeezy, they don't have that option. And I keep going on and on about how they were supposed to just get this bot lane of Ziggs and Nami going, except that's the whole key to their composition. If the bot lane isn't ahead and not doing what it's meant to do in the comp, it's just not going to go well at all.
Well, Mountain Drake has been taken by TSM. That's the second Drake of the game. It's going to really help them push through their current advantage. They're only up one turret right now, which is honestly a little surprising given how dominant they've been, but it looks like that's just about to change as they move in on the mid, take it away, and a huge engage coming out. Nami destroyed. Najimura wants to take the kill. The Mega Inferno Bomb almost irrelevant, but we do see the surround coming in from Lemon Squeezy. They've got them caught up in the area. Huge Keeper's Verdict coming out. The Stranglethorn so big to try and counteract that aggression and what could have been a massive team fight for Lemon Squeezy, but it may still be, as we see Highwayman go in, takes out Tintin. Teleport is coming in, but it might be too late. Ezra going down very, very low. The big Hemo play coming out, bringing the massive damage multiplier. Rios gets the kill. Ezra goes down so low, is going to get taken out. It is 1v2, but Rios is going to make it very quickly a 1v1. Najimura on the back of the fight, looking to try and get out of trouble. Contraflix using the smite, trying to keep their health up, but not exactly terrible for Lemon Squeezy, all things considered.
Brilliant engage from Highwayman there. Really, really good engage. Just saying, press the go button, flashing over the wall, getting a really, really nice hit with a, what's it called? Heroic charge.
Yes.
Getting a really, really nice knock with the heroic charge, just taking down Slap and Tickle, Tintin pretty much instantly. Although, I don't think they took into account that Rosie still had teleport up. Whether that was miscommunication or whether they were just saying we need to make this play now because we're so far behind. Either or, they didn't take into account that Rios's, I cannot pronounce that name. For the life of me. Yeah, the Vladimir still had teleport and was able to come in on full health and just clean up the entirety of that fight. He picked up a triple kill in that, I believe, and just completely cleaned up. And I don't think there's not going to be anybody that can actually deal with the Vladimir's split push on the side of Lemon Squeezy, which that is worrying, actually. That's really worrying.
Well, I do wonder if there's anyone who can deal with the Vladimir full stop. 5-0-2 in this game. I think you're right, the Lemon Squeezy, as soon as they saw that teleport come in, had to know that their time on this planet was limited. As soon as the Vladimir came in, he tore the heart out of Lemon Squeezy, and now they're forced back to their own towers. They've lost, I believe, at this point, all of their outside towers, giving great access for TSM to any future dragons and objectives all over the map. Baron going to be up in just under a couple of minutes.
As we have another engage coming in from Tintin.
Contract's going down very, very low, but the counter engage, Tintin getting taken down by a big Stranglethorns, forcing back Lemon Squeezy. There's the tidal wave, huge triple knock-up. Slap and Tickle going to get pounded into the wall. They are going to get taken out. Fi gets the kill, knock-up onto the Caitlyn. They're going to get destroyed as well. Zac being put into Bloblet form. No, they got killed. They did not have the cell division, and 3-0 in favor of Lemon Squeezy. That's unbelievable.
2 times in a row now that Highwayman has made an amazing play to just bring his team back into that team fight. There was also a brilliant tidal wave into Mega Inferno Bomb to just lock up the entirety of TSM and just do an absolute massive chunk of damage to the rest of them for Highwayman to come in into the backline and just clean that up. They're going to take their first tower of the game. They might be able to bring themselves back into it. It is still a 7k deficit though, but they do have a tower on the map.
Well, speaking of towers, though, Vladimir for TSM looking to provide some pressure in that top side. Doesn't look like... I've quick not crossed to see the health of the tower. No, it didn't actually look like it was going to be a serious attempt, however. And we do see a little bit of light emerging for Lemon Squeezy. As the Highwayman going to get caught out, the big saviour for Lemon Squeezy could themselves be in trouble. Sammy Bot's going to get knocked up and destroyed in short order. Ezra taking a lot of damage in return though from Contraflix, who's providing the front line for Lemon Squeezy right now. None of the team want to fully commit to this one, but a cheeky kill picked up by TSM gives them that further lead, now 7k ahead.
That Aqua Prism was really, really nice on the Electric Sling. Oh, that was placed perfectly, and I think that actually stopped full-on engage Tintin there. As I believe it did catch him before he landed, so being able to stop that really long-range engage with that was actually really well done by Sammybot. Trades her life for it, but still could have ended up a lot worse.
Yeah, well, you mentioned it before the game that that Nami having that particular advantage with the somewhat predictability, I suppose, to an extent, of Tintin once you see them coming. Being able to put down that bubble, keeping a clear head in a crisis. But we'll see what happens as his team's starting to swarm around the Drake. As Contrafix is going to get caught, going to get knocked up, taking a lot of damage, being able to walk away from this one. But only 43 seconds to the next dragon. Let's take a quick peek at what it's going to be. It's going to be an Infernal Drake. So a nice pickup for TSM. I don't know if Lemon Squeezy can do anything about this at all.
They might be able to. They do need to get themselves into position. But look at the vision control that Team Sw0nk have in Lemon Squeezy's jungle. It is absolutely littered with wards. They can see whenever they're going to contest for this dragon, which is going to be really difficult because they're going to start getting choked back into their base eventually. And when they have no vision in their own jungle bar, very few wards, it's going to be extremely difficult to try and get out of that. They need to contest for this objective. However, TSM just knows that they're coming for them.
Yep, Lemon Squeezy walking right across these wards. We'll see what TSM decide to respond to getting a little bit of poke from their Caitlyn. But surprisingly, Lemon Squeezy are able to move in through and take away some of that vision. And we'll see these two teams dance. Who's going to make the first mistake? As Sammybot goes down very, very low, has to burn the flash to get away. He's going to take the ace and hold to the face. And is going to get eliminated. Now it is 5v4 with the Infernal Drake up for the taking. Looks like TSM are going to chase Lemon Squeezy right the way back in the base. Highwayman front line and gets a nice knock-up, has to flash away. And the Redemption comes out, getting a little bit of damage. But Lemon Squeezy getting surrounded from both sides. Highwayman going to take a little bit of damage, getting caught up with those Stranglethorns. That looks like TSM are going to try and pressure down this mid-side turret with the aid of the Mountain Drake, but they might have made a mistake if we see Lemon Squeezy force through some counter-aggression.
Can I say no? I can't say what I was about to say because the kill there have taken me completely off guard.
Yeah, well, it looks like Lemon Squeezy have still got a lot to think about, not able to get the stun onto Riel's. They are committing big, but ultimately, it's not really getting them anywhere. Riel's buying time for TSM to take away this Infernal Drake without any interference, any possibility of a steal from Lemon Squeezy.
They can't deal with the Vladimir, and Ryozi is pretty much the biggest problem on the team right now. They have nothing that can deal with the Stain. It's really, really worrying. And around a point at that dragon fight is that TSM could have been as patient as they liked during that. They had all the vision control. They knew exactly where Lemon Squeezy were going to go, what they could do, and they were just waiting for Lemon Squeezy to make the mistake. Click of the finger, snap, engage. As soon as someone's out of position, Sammybot was out of position. They got a really nice catch onto her from Ryozi, and she just went down instantly, which led to the team fight that followed.
Well, at this point, the Vladimir for TSM 7-0-2. Still able to more or less deal with Lemon Squeezy by themselves. I mean, we've got the Morellonomicon for Razni, but it doesn't feel like it's making a significant dent in Rios' ability to be able to sustain as well as pump out an enormous amount of damage and keep Lemon Squeezy from really getting anywhere in this game.
Yeah, and this is why I love triple threat comps, because normally in this kind of situation, if it was just a double threat like you would normally see it at the moment, you could just focus down the Vladimir and then the second threat once you killed him. However, there's the third threat of the Yasuo on Urza here, and it makes target prioritization really, really difficult because there's so many threats from the Caitlyn, from Yasuo, and as well as from Vladimir. It really just mixes up because you don't know who to take out first. Do we take out the reliable damage in Yasuo or Caitlyn? Okay, we decide to do that. If we do that, we've got the problem of Vladimir. Except you can't just fully solo focus the Vladimir because Caitlyn and Yasuo are going to completely destroy the rest of your team. So Lemon Squeezy are in a really tough position at the minute, and they're pretty much playing right into TSM's plans.
Yeah, it does not feel that Lemon Squeezy have very much as far in their wheelhouse left as far as options. I mean, I think you're completely right. It's going to be really, really tough. It feels like, if anything, they really need a member of Team Sw0nk to step out of position, particularly Nijimura on the Caitlyn. We've seen maybe take a play a little bit, or position a little bit aggressively and get eliminated. But you're right, there's so many threats from TSM right now. They are just huddling around this tower, hoping beyond hope that they'll be able to stretch this game out a little bit longer and find, by some miracle, a way back in.
Yeah, and it's a really difficult position. They do just have to turtle. I mean, Fai's having to go for an Edge of Night just so that extra spell shield that he's going to get from Edge of Night can just help him out, just live a little bit longer in order so he can do as much damage as he possibly can in these team fights.
Well,
it is a real struggle.
Down in the bottom side, Riyadh's doing as they have done all game, pushing down the tires. I don't know if Sw0nk can do anything at all to prevent that in the mid side, of course. TSM still providing pressure, but the wave clear at least in Lemon Squeezy's favour, able to keep any more serious amounts of damage coming through, but it has to only be a matter of time before TSM can force down this middle turret.
Yeah, and it's all about just the waiting game, really. Whenever TSM want, they can pretty much win on this, although Mega Inferno Bomb came out. Yes, it was. I think it was blocked by the wind wall from Yasuo, actually.
I think
that was really well done from Urza.
I do.
And yeah, Rioz is just going to still be a massive threat, and it is interesting to see that he's still gone for Variety's Crystal Scepter on Vladimir, even after its pretty big changes this patch.
Yes, I mean, I believe, if memory serves, the slow is now 20% for everything. As Rioz is trying to take away that red buff, it's going to chase out a small victory for Lemon Squeezy, as Ezra tries to pick off StammyBot, who has really been the whipping boy for TSM in this game. Nejimura, though, might have gotten caught. Here comes the damage Fury. Fai does manage to secure the kill, their 5th of the game. Tintin returns it in short order, though. Still, getting it on to the Jace, going to make him just a little bit more relevant.
Yeah, so the Rylai's changes you were speaking about a moment ago, they took off 100 health off of it, 25 ability power taken off, and now just damaging spells, along with, as we do have another engage in the jungle.
Yeah, Tintin is being caught up. He's going to be able to last his slingshot or not. Tintin is going to get smashed down. The teleport has come in, but can Lemon Squeezy finish off the job in time? It's going to be tight. They do manage it, but there's now 2 members coming in. We see the double knock up really big. Rio's getting taken down, but the Mega Inferno Bomb is going to be avoided by the Sanguine Pool. Such low health bars from Lemon Squeezy. It looks like they are going to disengage. We can see the big heal coming out. Rio's cannot be denied. 8-0 force. We see the double kill being picked up by Ezra. Highwayman and Fai, the only ones left standing for Lemon Squeezy right now. And we see TSM pounding their way down the top lane.
This Vladimir has become such a big problem, it's not even funny. No matter what Lemon Squeezy tried to do, they was like, okay, let's take out their entire engage. Just knock that straight out of the fight. Whereas in the backline, Ursa got a knock up onto Razny, and that completely threw the backline up, as they were also panicking a little bit because Vladimir teleported in as well. So completely threw the team array, and they literally just scattered. Contrafakes went over the wall to try and 1v1 Urza. Got taken out, unfortunately, and wasn't able to do that. And Vladimir might be able to take this inhibitor tower for that. Isn't going to, as the rest of Lemon Squeezy is just going to fend him off of it.
Well, that Mountain Drake's certainly going to be helping Vladimir be a constant thorn in Lemon Squeezy's side. Able to just split push very, very safely, despite not actually having the teleport up. Dragon is going to be taken. It's going to be another Cloud Drake. 4 Drakes already in TSM's pocket. If this game even gets as far as Infernal Drake, it's going to be nightmarish for Lemon Squeezy to deal with.
Elder Drake. On top of that, there's also a 14,000 gold lead
that too.
For Team Sw0nk. That is humongous at 30 minutes. And we're at the point of the game. It's not like we're at 50 minutes where 14k gold disadvantage just pretty much means nothing. We're only 30 minutes in, people. This gold lead is absolutely massive. And you can see it in the items. Caitlyn's now finished the rapid fire cannon. Yasuo's finished Blade of the Sw0nk, looking to potentially build a frozen mallet. Vladimir's practically finished his build already. just needs to pick up the rest of the Zhonya's Hourglass and he'll be completed. And Zyra's got nearly her 2 core items. And she has the Rylai's Crystal Scepter. She's got the Haunting guys as well. As everyone on TSM is just set.
Yeah, I mean, it's not only have they got these massive kill numbers. I mean, look, Royal's about to hit 300 CS, which is honestly just ludicrous. Baron is very much available for TSM to take as they please, as it goes down super fast. No reaction from Lemon Squeezy whatsoever. The gold lead just eye-watering at this point. Lemon Squeezy, I mean, you said it, just looking at the item difference between the different positionals, we're seeing almost full items on the part of TSM, and Lemon Squeezy are barely out of the blocks.
16,000. I'm actually speechless at how big the gold lead is at the moment, and we actually have nearly a double flame horizon in mid lane, if you add mid lane and top lane CS deficits, which is quite amusing to see.
Yeah, I mean, it's not too often we're going to see that 100 CS advantage across the board, but I mean, there's nothing that seems to have gone right in this game for Lemon Squeezy. They tried out this very new, potentially only meme-worthy strategy of bringing down the Ziggs as a bottom laner. It just has not worked at all. I do wonder if we've got, of course, a second game this evening to see if we might see this re-emerge once again. Do you think, under the ideal conditions, do you think perhaps this Ziggs AD carry or Ziggs bottom lane could work?
Yes, and I strongly believe that you also need a marksman in the jungle, particularly someone like Graves. We do have an engage coming in the...
This is what Lemon Squeezy need. We see the big knockups coming out. Triple concentrates against Najimura. That's exactly what they wanted. And we see the Vladimir going down solo. Can they finish the job? It's going to be tight. No Rayos gets a huge heal coming out as Ezra tears up the back line of Lemon Squeezy. Highwayman desperately trying to get out. Can they finish off the job? There's such low health bars all over the board, but only 5 left standing for Lemon Squeezy. Is going to have to play very, very carefully. The inhibitor turret goes down. Ezra's going to try and finish off. Nice. Knock away, and there's the ace for TSM. They get the inhibitor as well. They could easily move in on the Nexus towers and finish off this game.
Yeah, and it's just the power of a triple threat comp. There was just too many things to deal with. The Yasuo tearing up backline, Vladimir just being a massive pain in the backside in TSM's front line. And if I was Lemon Squeezy, I would just go back to tried and true for their next game. Try and start the season 1-on-1, and just try and go for a more conventional comp next time.
Yep, well, our commiserations to Lemon Squeezy. They tried out the potentially next level strategy, didn't pan out for them. Team Sw0nk with a crushing victory for our first game of this evening. We're going to take a quick break while we get set up for our second game, which is going to be Sw0nk against Team Wolf. Hope you guys have enjoyed the match so far, and hopefully we'll see just an exciting one for Game 2. But we'll be back with you very, very shortly. Alright guys, what a great start to this evening. Lemon Squeezy losing out to Team Sw0nk in quite an astounding performance. We got to see our first instance of Zig's bottom lane marksman, I guess? Not quite. But didn't unfortunately work out for Lemon Squeezy. We'll see what's going to happen between Sw0nk and Team Wolf. They're getting their initial champion select out of the way. But, Last Rights, what did you make of our game one of the evening?
Very interesting. We saw the fabled Ziggs bottom lane. Didn't go too well for Lemon Squeezy. I kind of hope we do see another one. And I also think we don't. I also don't want to see it again, simply because it requires so much to go right, and a lot can go really, really wrong, as we just happened, and it leaves your team comp without any reliable physical damage.
Well, I mean,
if it does go wrong.
For Lemon Squeezy in that last game, we saw the unusual composition with the Jace mid instead of the more traditional AP carry mid. Do you think, is there anything compositionally Lemon Squeezy could have done to make that Ziggs bottom work a bit better for them?
Yes, and I was going to touch on this at the end of the game, actually. I think having a marksman in the jungle position, someone like Graves, probably not Kindred, because she's fallen really out of favour in the last half a year. But probably Graves in the jungle, because he is still really, really good in the new Season 7 jungle. Having just a reliable marksman, even though Graves is really, really short range, having that reliable marksman damage in there would be really, really nice if you're going with the Ziggs in the bot lane. Simply because if the Ziggs lane does fall behind as badly as it does, you're like, okay, we've got a backup in our Graves in our jungle, and he can power farm and then just come into team fights and just wreck people. So it would be nice to see the Ziggs bot lane paired with like a marksman in the jungle, preferably Graves, although if any team wants to bring out a Kindred, as a fan of Kindred myself, I would not be... I wouldn't oppose to the idea, so to speak.
It's really exciting to be in the game at the time when we're seeing these new strategies coming in. I mean, when something's as new as the idea of throwing an AP carry down the bottom lane is, you have to imagine there's going to be some growing pains as a team to try and figure out, is this actually better than what we have already? You know, are there certain circumstances it's going to be better in, or certain compositions it's good against? I mean, there's a huge amount for teams to try and learn in a very short period of time, and to do it in a tournament setting seems very, very bold from Lemon Squeezy. I don't know if anyone else is going to be brave enough to try and be the guinea pig for that kind of strategy.
Yeah, I was expecting this would be something that we would bring out a couple of weeks later in, maybe about week 3, week 4, week 5, if the trend was still sticking around. I don't think the first game of the season is potentially the best with. Maybe now that we're doing second games of the season, so I would probably avoid it if you lost the first game, simply because there's so much that can go wrong with that. I'm not liking it so far, although I've never been a person to kind of like the off-meta stuff. So there's a tiny bit of bias coming from me there.
Well, I mean, we'll see how it does work out. I mean, I do wonder if we... personally, as a proponent of... I used to play... So personally speaking, I used to play Malzahar, potentially, as a bottom lane sort of hybrid carry. I mean, there's a whole new world of different potential options for these teams to try and choose from. But I think you're right that given how well that first game went, if we were going to see any possibility of it in this game too from either of the teams, if they did see the preceding games, that's probably put a dampener on any enthusiasm they have for trying that out in this game too.
Oh yeah, definitely. I also think it's just something that you need to practice more, and because we've only seen this appear in solo queue, right? We haven't had a major tournament since I am Gyeonggi. Gyeonggi wasn't on this patch; it was on 623 technically. So, and LCK and that don't start for another 2 weeks, or I believe. So we haven't actually seen a proper tournament setting to see if any of the professional teams are going to actually bring this out, which I don't think they would. I believe it's mainly just a solo queue flavor of the month thing. because there is stuff that makes AD carry pretty unfun right now. I'm looking at Camille and her ultimate. Although I don't think Camille is overpowered, I just don't like that there's barely any counterplay to her ultimate at all.
Well, I mean,
But
even with the nerf, we saw her not get through the previous pick and ban phase, which of course we had to tell you guys about. We have for this time around, we've got Champions Slate, which will be starting very shortly. We've asked the teams, even though they've previously sorted out their picks and bans ahead of time, that they're going to duplicate them for your information in their second pick and ban, which I believe should be starting pretty darn shortly. They're just getting all of their ducks in a row, getting all their players invited. Looks like they are pretty much ready. Just to let them know that we're ready as well. And we should be able to get into our second game of the evening between Sw0nk and Team Wolf. Looks like teams are all in order, or at least they're sorting it out right now. But yep, we certainly saw a very, very unusual game one. Whether we'll see a more traditional game two is still we don't know what happened in the pick and ban phase, which they've done off air, as it were. So I would be very interested to see what we're going to get. Let's see. I'm just trying to figure out what's going on with the. Sorry, I thought we were just about to start. I think we've got a minor delay. While we're waiting for those guys to just get all of their ducks in a row, which hopefully will be almost. Sorry, yes, there's a little bit of confusion between the teams as to how this is going to work out. Okay, it looks like they're going to go for the text-based bans. So if you can imagine, just imagine you guys seeing the client in front of yourselves, and the bans are coming in a very dramatic and exciting fashion. Last rights, what have we got so far?
So currently with although I don't know why they're doing it this way. With Team Sw0nk, we do have Lee Sin and Elise as their first and second ban, and coming on the side of Wolf, we have Zac. So lots of junglers being taken out, as Vayne's just been taken out by Wolf.
That's interesting. Not too often you're going to see that Vayne being picked up as a ban. What do you think Team Wolf were thinking there with the AD carry ban?
Either Sw0nk plays Vayne a lot, or they just don't want to deal with that insane hyper carry threat that Vayne can turn into if they're not careful. So yeah, it's kind of a safe ban, as the third ban for Sw0nk is going to be Syndra, unsurprisingly, although seeing a Syndra blue side ban is a little bit interesting. And the final ban...
Yeah, no, you're right. It's surprising, I mean, to not see Sw0nk want to maybe try and play that one if they get the opportunity to do so. I mean, with that one more ban left up for Team Wolf, are there any obvious choices for them to try and take away and make sure that Sw0nk can't first pick?
I was going to say the likes of Camille. However, we have a Zilean ban as our final ban.
Okay. I've never quite seen this happen before, but it looks like the teams are kind of reading their picks out to us, but we'll hopefully be able to get into the actual Champions Slate very soon. Oh dear, that's confusing. While all those guys get sorted out, my colleague Lars Rice is going to try and explain to them how the system works here. Just for any of you guys who aren't familiar with it, the general idea is that the teams will do their picks and bans in a kind of an initial pick and ban phase, which isn't on air, so that if the teams need to use proxy picks, and such, they can get that all sorted out and then just pick in their lanes the appropriate champions on air for you guys. So it goes through very quickly, and we don't have the restart on the champion select. Unfortunately, there seems to be a bit of confusion by the teams, and they're now just reading out their picks to us in the pre-game lobby. So we'll do our best to try and communicate that information to you guys. It looks like the picks coming in are going to be Vi, first of all, for Sw0nk, being their first pick. Certainly a very potent jungler. We saw do pretty well last time. And the Pantheon and Kha'Zix seem to be the next two on the menu. With Gnar and Thresh being picked up as well, I believe, for the Sw0nk team. But yes, I do apologise, you guys. There seems to be a bit of a communication breakdown between what the team's expectations and what we need to show you guys on stream. I honestly don't know why they're telling us their picks now rather than just picking them. But hey, we'll try and get into the game as soon as possible. We'll keep an eye out for the next couple of picks. And
I'm trying to work out the orders here that people take and stuff. It's really confusing me. So first pick for Sw0nk was Vi, which is what we were expecting. Then Wolf are telling us that they will take Pantheon Kha'Zix in return. Then Sw0nk will do Gnar Thresh. They haven't done the full ones.
Oh, okay. I seem to have been a even further level of confusion. That I think they're actually not done with their initial pick and bans.
They're discussing their final two picks.
Okay.
They currently have Vi, Gnar, and Thresh.
Right. Yes, I do apologise. It looks like everybody was a little bit confused coming to this pick and ban phase. We had thought that they were completely done, but the reason why we're delayed at this point is because they're still trying to finish off their last couple of picks. So once they get that done, then we'll be able to go straight into the game itself and bring you guys our second game of the evening between Sw0nk and Team Wolf. So while we're waiting for that to get done, since there's not too much to say at this point, I'll just put the music on a little bit louder and take us off for the time being while we wait for that to get sorted out. We'll be back in hopefully just a minute or so once those final picks and bans have been sorted out. But for now, please just enjoy some Monster Cat. Alright guys, we are back into Champion Select once more. I do apologise for the delay and the confusion. We'll make sure that doesn't happen again in future games. But we have got the picks and bans, or rather the bans at least, coming in thick and fast. Looks like Sw0nk have taken out, as we mentioned before, Lee Sin, Elise and Syndra, whereas Team Wolf taking out Zac, Vayne and Zilean, with the first pick is going to be Gnar for the Sw0nk team.
Yeah, teams are just picking. They've already. So what was doing all the confusion is that these two teams were doing their pick and bans in a bit of a different style, and they were writing that all out because like their top laner didn't have Vi, which is what they were going to first pick. Because their top laner didn't have that, they were just going to do. So what the system was is you do we'd have an offline champ set where they'd sort out this kind of thing, and then the actual ones where they would do their proper picks in said orders. That's all cleared up now. So on the side of Team Sw0nk, we've currently got Gnar, Vi, and Ryze. And on Team Wolf, we're going to have Pantheon, Kha'Zix, and Lucian has been locked in. Of course, we already know ahead of sight what the pick's going to be, except we'll leave that until it's actually been picked in, just in case. And it's going to be Cassiopeia.
Well, I mean, certainly seeing some interesting picks coming out from Team Wolf. I mean, Pantheon going up against Gnar on the top side, very, very interesting choice. What do you make of that matchup?
Pantheon could be really polarizing. So it's one way to put it. Gnar does have a good laning phase against it, although Pantheon can overpower him quite quickly in the early game if Gnar isn't careful, and the shield blocking will make, if he times it correctly and blocks the actual hyper proc, he won't take any damage from it, which is really, really nice in that matchup. Although I honestly think Desired Madness on Gnar really has that lane. As we have Jinx and Fresh locked in for the bottom lane of Sw0nk, which, taking the Fresh away from Lucian, bit of BM there. Anyone knows the lore of League, they will be excited for that. So yeah, just waiting for the final pick to come in.
What do you think of the Kha'Zix pickup for Team Wolf? I mean, certainly a pretty potent jungler, but not one we've seen terrifically often.
He's quite strong right now, actually. The new rework. He's extremely good at taking the solo camps now because his empowered Q gives a 60% cooldown reduction refund. So every time you Q an isolated target, the cooldown would be reduced by 60%, and it makes him taking stuff like Dragon and Baron really, really quick, as well as just the regular solo camps as well, like the red and the blue buff. The jungle matchup, I think the two junglers will be quite even. The one thing I do want to look out for the most is the bottom lane, because both of them are kill lanes, and whoever gets ahead in said kill lane will pretty much run away with the matchup. And then Ryze Cassiopeia is going to be really even in that mid lane, because before Cassiopeia was undeniably a really good counter to Ryze, but the fact that Ryze now has the shield in his kit, as well as the extra movement speed that he gains in the kit as well now, it's made that matchup actually a lot better. It's more of a 50-50 matchup where Ryze can actually play out of it and get himself into a favourable position. It's not as difficult as it used to be.
Well, we'll see how that one does play out. I mean, I'm quite surprised to see Team Wolf picking up that Leona. We haven't seen her too often in the tournament circuit. Do you happen to know sort of why that would be?
Either they're just looking for some hard engage, which looks like that's what their whole team comp is relying on, and Leona for that. Also be that Flash Chewbacca is just a really confident Leona player and wants to play that into this matchup against the Fresh and Jinx in order to just really shut the Jinx down. Although I really like the team comp coming out from Sw0nk.
Yeah, I mean, it's very, very interesting. I do wonder what kind of use we're going to be seeing out of the Ryze Ultimate to be able to plonk in their top laner and jungler, who certainly have got this very, very strong engage potential. Do you think Team Wolf will be able to take over that top lane? I mean, I'm a little bit surprised to see the teleport coming out on the side of the Team Wolf top laner, Renegade Zac, rather than perhaps the Ignites to try and put down more kill pressure on Desired Madness on that Gnar.
Yeah, and it honestly comes down to just how confident I think Renegade Zack is feeling. If he's feeling really quite need the ignite, I'd say, because Pantheon is really, really strong regardless. And if he does get, although the problem with Pantheon is that once he gets behind, he's going to stay behind. So I guess the teleport gives him the option to teleporting to other lanes and trying to impact them there if the soloing early on versus Gnar doesn't go too well. So there's always that option open. Although there's something that I was surprised about during this pick and ban phase, that Camille didn't make it through at all.
Yes, that is quite surprising. Well, do you think the recent nerfs might have put teams off trying to get her to work, or do you think it was maybe just that they aren't as comfortable with her as they are with their other more traditional picks?
Yeah, I don't think the teams have practiced much of her at all. She's been out for about not long at all, actually, just been out for nearly the whole of December. So I don't think the teams aren't going to be well practiced with Camille. So it's expected to be that she's probably not been picked when she's been let through.
Well, you mentioned with the possibility of seeing Team Wolf's top lane Pantheon trying to with the teleport as well. I do wonder if we might see some attempt from Team Wolf to be able to, make use of that Grand Skyfall to be able to have a much larger influence, at least over the middle lane for Team Wolf, than Sw0nk are able to do with their only one global ability, as it were.
Yeah, and the Ryze Cassiopeia matchup is actually quite, where it is a 50-50 skill matchup, sort of. It does swing heavily with any sort of pressure, because like if the Cassiopeia gets ahead in that lane, she will bully the Ryze. Whereas likely if Ryze gets really far ahead of the Cassiopeia, he can do the exact same thing back to her now. As I was saying earlier, it's really not that rough of a matchup for Ryze anymore, simply because of the new shield and movement speed that he got in his recently rehauled kit in 6.14, I believe it was, where his second rework came through. So we are very nearly loading into game.
Yeah, we'll have to see how it does work out in the end. I mean, we are still, at least this time around, seeing some unusual pickups, at least on the side of Team Wolf, with Pantheon, with the Leona. Not exactly completely as off the wall as the Ziggs bottom lane was, but perhaps more specifically playing into those players' strengths.
Yeah, and Lucian Leona is quite a strong lane. You can get quite a lot of damage off of the Sunfire passive, as well as the Lucian Lightbringer passive as well. It'll be also, I want to have a quick look at some of Keystone Masteries. Some of them are actually really, really interesting. So Metrix and Cassiopeia has decided to go for Deathfire Touch. It's a good choice. However, I know that Storm Raider Surge is also a really popular Keystone choice on Cassiopeia, simply because the more movement speed you get, being able to chunk people to 30%, chunk people to 30% of their health is actually really nice for Cash. You can do that quite reliably. Interesting to see that Renegade Zack's taken Warlord's Bloodlust on Pantheon in the top lane. I don't play any Pantheon top, so I'm not sure if this is standard, but it is interesting to see that being done. And Desired Manners has taken the further on the Gnar, going for a much more aggressive Gnar.
Yep, and we're going to be in it to the game itself proper in just a moment. So Sw0nk take on Team Wolf. As we see both teams charging out onto the Rift, we'll see who's going to come out ahead and who's going to come out a cropper. In the early game, at least, it looks like Sw0nk are moving in numbers down to the water's bottom side. Seemingly, we're going to see the same reaction from Team Wolf, much as the previous game. Looks like we're going to see both junglers getting the support from the bottom laners, but what's this? Sw0nk might be trying something tricksy.
Notice Death Sentence has actually been taken at level 1 by Lord Ebony Puma here, so they are definitely looking to try and get something off. Just looking at the other skills, rather standard for Team Wolf. Watch for a Death Sentence. Here we go, it connects.
Toothy Frog has been caught, the exhaust comes down. Toothy Frog going down so the first blood goes to Newbie Boob. A really nice pickup for Sw0nk going for this very high commitment down the bottom lane, and it does pay off this time. Toothy Frog ended all of that with the flash still up.
Yeah, I think he just didn't have the reaction time after spamming all of the emotes to just flash out of the way of that. So death took it. The the kill did go on to Vi, so it's not as much of a problem, although she did pick up a second jungle item, which is going to make her clear a lot faster than Hexanoid. And both junglers having mirrored clears.
We'll see.
And starting off pretty standard.
We'll see how much of a difference it's going to make to Newbie Boob. Having the extra sustain, being able to stay in that jungle for a little bit longer, and potentially build up to having their own smite, or own coloured smite to be able to make use of early on. Where do you think we should be directing our attention in this game early on?
Honestly, we'd be looking more towards the top lane as well as the bot lane. Top lane because to see whether this Pantheon can get snowballing and get ahead of this Gnar, or whether he will fall behind and end up really struggling due to it, as well as the bot lane, since both of them are quite the kill lane. If Lucian and Leona get ahead, they are going to snowball this lane very heavily, and the same for the Jinx, actually. So it would be really interesting to watch the bottom lane and see how that lane's going to play out.
Well, Renegade's that going in hard. The Warlords, though, means that there's no Thunderlords plot coming across. I mean, I also was quite surprised to see that be the case. Presumably, Renegade Zac taking that Warlords further to try and avoid getting poked out by the constant boomerangs from Desired Madness on the Gnar. But it's going to limit the amount of kill pressure. But what's this? Hexanoid going in to the Sw0nk jungle. It's going to be driven out, though, by Newbie Noob. With that extra item advantage, has managed to keep a very, very healthy-looking health bar.
Yeah, but if an interesting invade there, and so the Death Sentence land spot lane.
Yeah, Toothy Frog getting caught up by the massive crowd control, but it's not going to turn into too much of anything. While the mid lane and the top lane fighting is breaking out on both sides. Desired Madness going to be able to walk away from that gank. While in the mid lane, they have torn strips out of each other's hides.
Yeah, both flashes have been blown. Both ghosts are still up. So look for that. The stun comes out in the top lane. What's going to happen? Oh, Renegade Zac does take a tower shot for that as there's an engage in the bot lane.
Yep, Toothy Frog going down very, very low. The heal has been burned, but Sw0nk Lord gets the kill already. Sw0nk are up 3-0 in this game on the jungler, top laner, and AD carry. What a strong start for them after that level 1 gambit paid off.
Yeah, and this is what Sw0nk really, really like to do. They're a team that will kill you over and over and over again. I like to akin them to kind of like the old Moscow 5, see hero, kill hero. And from the few games I have watched of them, it is definitely what I've picked up on their kind of play style. As interesting dynamic in the mid lane, actually, is that Medrix, after being put down to really, really low health, just sustained himself back up, where Sw0nk actually decided to go back and buy a tier. So he does have a bit of a CS deficit, but it is got the item advantage. Interesting that he decided, ooh, that death sentence was beautiful.
Really nice catch. Toothy Frog getting caught up, so much crowd control, and Sw0nk Lord takes a second kill. Hexanoid coming in from the side, decides against it, walking across the ward, but keep an eye out, of course, for the response from their own mid laner, as Medrix gets caught up in the mid lane. There's so much damage flying backwards and forwards, and Sw0nk gets the kill. Flash is going to have to use their own flash to get away. Sw0nk is getting out of control as Desired Madness goes right into the heart of Renegade Zac. Gets the stun down. No junglers to finish on the job, but Renegade Zac taking so much damage.
Yeah, that was really impressive to watch Sw0nk actually solo Medrix whilst being the lower level. That was really, really well played by him. And the bot lane, that death sentence into where Toothy Frog was going to relentless pursuit. That was absolutely godlike on Mad Life levels of hooks right there, and really, really set that play up in the bottom lane. And Toothy Frog's 0-3 already adds another death sentence.
Yeah, the really good use of the combined crowd control by Sw0nk down its bottom lane. Whenever that death sentence hits, when the flay hits as well, the flame chompers are dropped right behind the AD carry for Team Wolf, making it a very tricky situation to get away from. But speaking of, Hexanoid is in the middle. Sw0nk has gone in really hard. It's now going to get caught between a rock and a hard place. Sw0nk, it may be the first killer of the game going across the Hexanoid. Team Wolf are finally on the board.
Yeah, and I think Riot's just trying to get as much damage output as he can onto Kha'Zix in that gank. That was just the best thing to do. He had used both of his summoners in order to kill Medrix earlier, so there's no way he's getting out of that gank. Just try and turn it around as best as he can. does end up losing his life for it, but is able to pick up another Sapphire Crystal as well as boots, be able to kite that Cassiopeia just a little bit more. However, it is falling behind quite a bit in CS. It's now amounting to nearly 15 CS. And in the top lane, the Pantheon was actually having quite a big deficit. It has managed to bring that back just a little bit. It's still about a 10 CS drop, however. So the lane's not going as horribly, but it's definitely going to be very, very hard for him in that top lane versus Gnar.
Yeah, well, Team Wolf losing on CS in both top and bottom, as you say. The only bright spot being Medrix in the middle, who's used the miasma to great effect to try and punish. Sw0nk has very low mobility. Do you think we might see either of these teams going for this early Cloud Drake, though?
I can definitely see it happening, especially on the side of Sw0nk, and another death sentence landing in onto Kubaka.
Well, I mean, Sw0nk are keeping up the pressure. Both junglers are in this bottom side. Of course, we've got the Rift Realm Warp, from Sw0nk ready if the occasion arises. But actually, looking at that, I don't think Sw0nk has actually leveled it at all.
No, it's just a little bit of tighter trading up in the top lane. Renegade Zac brought very, very low.
No, he's not the only one though. Hexanoid having to jump away now. Miasma being dropped down to try and counteract the aggression. The Hexanoid in a lot of trouble. He's going to get caught up in the Rune Prison, and it's being sent away for a long time as Sw0nk is taking yet another kill. Renegade Zac going down very, very low. The Hyper is going to get through that last bit of damage, maybe, but no,
Ooh,
they're going to trade the kills.
There.
Yeah, I mean, very aggressive.
Team managed to get the kill. This Pantheon is quite far behind in this top lane, actually, which we did mention, and Sw0nk are going for this dragon like before.
Going down...
I think... Yeah.
Oh, sorry, he just cut out a little bit there. Yeah,
you're cutting out a bit too, actually.
Oh dear, I think we might have had some problems with Discord on this end. Alright, well, I guess do the best we can. Yep, that Cloud Drake being picked up despite the having the Rift Scuttler vision for Team Wolf. And Team Wolf still a big disadvantage, but here comes the man drop coming in. Renegade Zac forcing at the flash in the mid lane.
It's also a really nice preemptive flash there from Sw0nk. Down from Leona, watch for the flag.
Oh,
does miss.
Kubak has learnt. They're starting to adapt to Lord Emily Puma's predictive hooks, and instead starting to dodge out more and more of them as time goes on.
Here we go. Not going to be any action happening in the bot lane. We can see Renegade Zac just looking to try and get a gank off in mid lane. Just try and bring himself to this game because he's got a 30 CS deficit. The lane's really not going well for him as we see Hexanoid coming up to try and get this tank onto desired manners. However, he does have Gnar as well as Mega Gnar 4.
Wow, nice big Gnar ultimate. Newbie Beam comes in trying to turn this one on its head as Renegade Zac coming back. Nice flash. Hexanoid's gone invisible. But can Newbie Beam finish the job? The Assault and Battery is ready. But no, I don't know if they're going to finish off the job. Nice push. Pull back, and Renegade Zac goes down to Desired Madness, who already has 3 kills down the bottom lane. A lot of fighting breakout as well. Nice double flay, but Medrix is a huge ultimate coming out, and Medrix does secure their first kill of the game. Exhaust being dropped down the bottom lane, damage being brought from both sides to Beb. Halfway with the both help us. 2v Frog going down very low. Heal has been burnt. 2v Frog goes down to Sw0nk Lord. Flash Kubaka has to desperately try and get away. Has no way of getting out of trouble. Hexanoid takes Nubia back off screen, but the double kill to Sw0nk Lord.
Absolute nut series of events there. So much track and follow. It was a really nice gank actually by Hexanoid and Renegade Zac. They just did not time that well with the Gnar transforming to Mega Gnar. Absolutely brilliant ultimate coming out of Desired Madness there. Just throwing both of them into the wall, giving enough time for Sw0nk and Doobie Boob to come up on Vi and Rise respectively in order to turn that gank around was really, really well done. And then in the bot lane, Lord Ebony has just been playing extremely well on this Thresh. That death sentence has not seemed to miss at all when it's been needed to hit.
Yeah, it's been very, very strong performance from Sw0nk's bottom lane. And they've also picked up that first tower, that first brick, with Jinx being, of course, a very, very potent tower pusher. Their advantage down the bottom lane being taken all that gold's been given across to Sw0nk Lord, and now has that Runan's Hurricane, the completed item, against Toothy Frog, only with the Core Fields and with the Crit Cloak.
Yeah, of course, Lucian's first major item is end up being that Essence Reaver. And my problem with Essence Reaver, it's a really good item on stuff on people like Lucian. It just takes so long to build because it's really, really expensive. And it kind of puts you at a disadvantage against some of these triple crit AD carries because the Runans is just really, really cheap at 2,600 gold combined. They'll have that finished in no time, whereas you're still sat on components for quite a while and just not able to build your main power spike yet. Although Rise does have his Catalyst, actually, it's got a new name now, hasn't it? Yeah. Catalyst of Aeons built now, looking to build that into a Rod of Ages, as we do see Newbie Boob in the top lane. Nope, here we go, in the bot lane.
Yep, Ebony Puma comes in from behind. Nice solar flare, but Toothy Frog getting taken out in a hurry. So much damage. Flash Kubaka is trying desperately to get away. Nice crowd control coming in en masse from Sw0nk's bottom lane. The flash is used by Flash Kubaka, but there's the huge rocket coming out, and with the Get Excited able to get away in a hurry. The counter aggression coming out, but the hook does miss for once from Sw0nk down the bottom side. And even with the tower down, they're not able to push it any further, but they will be able to steal away this blue buff quite smoothly. Nothing Team Wolf can do.
Oh, it's another death sentence lands.
Yeah, Hexanoid getting caught. Realm Warp coming across behind the Cassiopeia. But the shutdown going across. This is the big hope for Team Wolf right now. They've managed to win this engagement. Now Shamihamiha has to win against multiple members. The flash coming through, Shamihamiha getting stunned up. But it's 3 versus 1. Shamihamiha cannot do it. Renegade Zack secures their second of the game, even though the turret was lost in the top side.
This is a typical example of being really over-greedy. And I honestly think the best play here for Sw0nk is just rotate your members, your bot lane, as well as Shamihamiha, just back into mid lane and just take that mid lane turret. The Cassiopeia on her own is not going to be able to deal with that. Toothy Frog and Flash Kubaka weren't in a position at all. In fact, Toothy Frog had died, and Flash Kubaka was just too low health to actually try and deal with that. So I would have preferred them to rotate around, so we do have a fight in the mid lane.
Renegade Zack, really nice combo from Sw0nk, stopping them from getting away. That low mobility punishment being punished as more hooks come out of Sw0nk. There's never a moment where Sw0nk's not trying. Lord Ebony Puma from the Sw0nk side is not trying to make that play. But Team Wolf didn't manage to push down their first turret of the game, though it looked like it was almost a dead certainty.
Yeah, and at least they're still trying to make good of a bad situation. They are trying to still get this first tower of the game for themselves. Although we do see Shamihamiha in the bot lane taking that wave. As the second dragon has spawned of the game, we'll be looking to see whether the teams are going to be trying to take that right now. And provided that Wolf are behind at the moment, their vision control's not actually been that in the dragon area. So they might be wanting to try and take that. Although Desired Madness has pushed this Pantheon really far in. And it must be really hard for Renegade Zack at the moment up there because he really doesn't do much on this Pantheon. And here's that mid lane rotation that I was speaking about that I wanted to see. This tower's practically gone unless Flash Kubaka can do anything about it. Not going to be able to, as Hexanoid is recalling, not got the mana to try and help defend this. And that's another tower going down.
Yeah, the last outer tower for Team Wolf has fallen, making it so much easier for Sw0nk to be able to take away these future dragons. It is another Cloud Drake, very, very potent in multiples, going to be able to allow Sw0nk to move around the map at outrageous speed. As Renegade Zack wishes he had outrageous speed right now, he's getting cornered in, trying to buy time for his teammates to come, but huge no ultimate. Renegade Zack is so low, and the Mega Death Ray comes in, finishes off the job, but no, Medrix comes in from the side, turning this fight on its head. Lord Ebony Puma is going to get eliminated while the Cloud Drake goes in the favour of Sw0nk, but Team Wolf have starting to get going with this Cassiopeia.
Yeah, he's doing rather well for himself. Still building Rylai's, as we see. Probably going to end up building... Oh, that... I don't know what that's going to be second, as Hexanoid gets caught out a little bit there. Will get out with his life. And that was just an example of that fight up in the top red side jungle there. Of just one getting a little bit overzealous, which they have been doing on multiple occasions throughout this game. I'd like to see them just slow it down a little bit and just think a little bit more rationally with some of the fights that they decide to take, as they have been outnumbered quite a bit in some of these, and it might end up costing them if they're not careful about it.
Yeah, I mean, we're seeing Team Wolf really managing to come back into this one. They've still got that gold disadvantage, but they're playing these team fights really well and catching members of Sw0nk off guard when they try and overstretch, try and do too many things at once without having Newbie Boob there, trying to take away the Cloud Draker as well as put down pressure on the top side. Felt like it really cost them, and Team Wolf took advantage.
Although the main thing for Team Wolf is that, yeah, they're getting up these really nice team cleanup kills when Sw0nk is being over-aggressive. However, Wolf aren't able to actually get anything off the back of that. Okay, yeah, you punish Sw0nk for being over-aggressive, but you really, really need to try and make a push to just try and get some objective, try and get a tower, as Toothy Frog needs to be a bit careful here. He cannot out-duel that Gnar. As we see Hexanoid coming down, and there's the jump.
Yeah, Hexanoid with that big black cleaver, but we see the counter-aggression coming out. Hexanoid being caught up, has to use the ultimate, but here comes the man drop. Desire of Madness is going to get deleted, but on the backside, Hexanoid cannot escape. Nuri Boob desperately trying though. Hexanoid goes down so low, does a lot of damage, but doesn't finish off the job, and it's going to end up being a 2-for-1 in favour of Sw0nk as they're looking to try and extend that lead even further. Dead Sentence just missing. No dragon to take this time for Sw0nk though.
It's a good idea in theory for Wolf, as the top lane just going to be Ghost is popped. Yeah, so that was a good play in theory by Wolf there in that bottom lane, going on to Gnar. They did end up killing Desired Madness, which is a good idea. However, they just didn't have the vision to see the rest of Sw0nk come in to completely clean up the rest of the kills that were down there. And Toothy Frog's really not doing well for himself. 0-6 at the minute, just on the way to be building up his rapid fire cannon most likely. Just needs to stay back and just try and get as much farm as he possibly can. And this is the problem with Lucian right now. He needs to be... He's such an aggressive champion. Like, he needs to be in your face, getting off all of them Lightbringer pox. When he's behind, that's incredibly hard to do, because you can just get insta-popped by anybody on this team of Sw0nk. And it really puts you in a difficult position, because you literally just have to sit in your bottom lane, just freezing the wave, trying to get as much farm as possible, which is not the situation you really want to be in as Lucian.
Yeah, when Sw0nk Lord has completed that Infinity Edge as well, so it's going to be able to do a huge amount of damage with the Runaan's Hurricane. Being able to crit means that they're going to be an even bigger presence in the team fights. Worth noting that 8 kills on Sw0nk Lord so far. Absolutely crazy. I suppose the only consolation for Toothy Frog is, despite all of this, never mind though, as Medric gets caught up, gets crowd control, flashes back right into a Flame Chompers, and suddenly Sw0nk have got... I thought for a second we're going to go and take the mid turret, but they've got the 2 Cloud Drakes so they can go wherever they please.
Yep, sorry about that. I did miss a small portion of that, as we do see the being taken here by Sw0nk. And they did manage to actually take out that Cassiopeia, which is the main threat on to Wolf at the moment.
Well, if you're going to take a Rift Herald, you want to take it right now. But we see another fight breaking out. Hexanoid going down very, very low as Toothy Frog is going to suffer much the same fate. Exhaust comes out. Toothy Frog just gets across the wall, but Desired Madness cannot be escaped from. Hexanoid again trying to get out, but the Realm Warp coming in, and that's going to spell the end of Hexanoid. Renegade Zac is also trying to flee at high speed. Is a lone wolf on Team Wolf, has to flash away, but gets caught by a beautiful hook. The good use of the explosive to be able to get away, but Medrix does finish off the job with Sultan Battery coming in, and there's nowhere for Medrix to go but the grave. Flash Kubaka desperately trying to get away. The last surviving member for Team Wolf is over. Another turret being taken, the 4th of the game, being followed shortly by another one in the mid. Sw0nk are massively in the lead right now.
Yeah, and I'm really liking how they're transitioning all of these kills into many, many objectives, because Wolf at the moment, they're just way too far behind, and they can't defend any of these structures. They're just forced to turtle. And so they're not actually able to come out of their base much at all right now. And Toothy Frog's gone down again.
Well, you called it.
That is unfortunate.
Unable to stand up for any length of time against the power of the Sw0nk Lord. But the Death Brush not paying off for Sw0nk quite this time. We've got another Dragon come up in less than 20 seconds. Those two Cloud Drakes are going to make it very easy for Sw0nk to be able to get to this objective whenever they want to. And it looks like they're going to be there just at the right time to see it spawn.
Yes, I did like how they timed the Rift Herald back earlier just to take it down just before Baron Nash spawned and was able to pick up the buff for it as well.
Really, really well timed. We see another fight breaking out. Hexnod going down very, very low. We do see Renegade Zack come in, but too late to save their teammate.
Here comes the Mega Knight, mate.
Yep, we're going to see... Oh, the Solar Flare doesn't quite get the job done. And unfortunately, Team Wolf denied this time around as the Infernal Drake going to be started up for Sw0nk. This will be their third of the game to complement those 6 towers. And there's no response from Team Wolf whatsoever.
Yeah, and I really don't know what you do if you're in Wolf's position, as Medrix has finished off a Luden's Echo on here. Really interesting choice there. Not something you normally see on her. His last whisper being done. Lucian still hasn't finished his rapid fire cannon. He's in a pretty bad place at the moment. And I honestly don't know what to say about what Wolf can do. They just really need to turtle, except they don't have a late game comp, really. Because their AD carry just gets outscaled by Jinx, and Ryze, the longer this game goes, will just get stronger and stronger. I really have no idea how... I really have no idea how Wolf are going to get back into this.
Well, I mean, Sw0nk certainly have got the stranglehold on the game right now. They've got so many towers taken off Team Wolf that Team Wolf kind of don't have any real way of defending the jungle. We do see good ward coverage, at least, from Team Wolf in their own jungle to try and give themselves a little bit of breathing room. But Sw0nk seem quite determined to at least keep this Baron area as clear as possible and clear out those wards. But Hexanoid is going to try and clear out Desire Madness. Nice Gnar ultimate, stunning Hexanoid into the wall. The big ultimate coming out from and getting a stun, but up in the top side, Renegade Zack is going to be a victim of Shamehameha. Desire Madness going down solo, but takes out Hexanoid. That's just chronic. And up in the top, we do see the first inhibitor of the game being taken by Sw0nk, as we see the flash hook just missing, Realm Warp coming in under the tower. Very aggressive play from Shamehameha. 2-3 Frog takes their first kill of the game, but it may not matter. Nexus towers going down in short order. Only Medrix there to try and do anything about this. We do see Flash Kubaka coming from the side. Medrix is going to be destroyed. They cannot get away. The exhaust comes out, keeping the rest of Sw0nk safe. Flash Kubaka dies as well. Nexus tower going down. The Nexus is there for the taking, and Sw0nk have done it in style.
Well, that set the record for fastest game in the MLS.
Wow.
Really well played.
Well, again, much like the previous game, we've seen Team Wolf going for the slightly more unusual pickups, and it really just not panning out for them at all in this game.
I think it all spanned from level 1, as 2-3 Frog seemed to be really put on tilt from death. And things just spiraled out of control in the bot lane for that.
Well, that's going to be it for us this evening. Thank you so much for watching. I've been Peter Westcombe Hartnell, and my co-caster has been
Aaron, the last rides Edwards.
Alright guys, we'll leave you with a little bit of music to head into night with. I do apologise for the delay to this game, and thanks to any of you guys who did stick around for the second game of this evening. I do believe, right, so this will be a weekly occurrence.
Yes, it will, every Thursday from 8:30 PM.
So yeah. Right, any last words to take us into the night?
We will see you next week, same time, same channel.
Alright, cheers guys.